let's talk about the CRN Women and Diversity Awards, because
Yes.
I recently saw that you were up for Role Model of the Year, also Entrepreneur of the Year. How does that make you feel personally to be nominated and recognised within your own company?
I think because of the fact that I did get nominated, that was reward enough for me, to be perfectly honest. I haven't actually progressed with the submissions. It's not something I opted to progress with. I have my own views around that. I think for me, if I speak to the people that I'm closest to, who I regard as role models and successful women in business, they don't want to be recognised for being a single characteristic or a woman in business. They want to be recognised for being a leader in business. And that's essentially where I am with it, in that, I just want to be Jamie, which is all I've ever wanted to be. And
the best Jamie you can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, all credit to the people that were put forward, and I wish everybody the best, and we'll celebrate. If my colleagues win, I will be delighted for them, because we've got some amazing women in our business. But for me, it wasn't. The nomination was good enough for me, and it came as a real surprise. So.
Do you think there is discrimination in our industry around, again, diversity and inclusion is a massive topic over the last year, 18 months. And I look at some of the jobs that have gone out before, and I'm thinking, yeah, there probably was a bit of a boys' club. Some jobs weren't advertised, and actually, I'll give it to my mate Joe Blogs or whoever it is. Have you ever experienced any sort of discrimination around that? And do you think we're making grounds enough to sort of make it more diverse and inclusive for the whole of the channel, not just in Exertis? I'm talking in generally within our industry, because I look at it, and when people talk to me about it, I'm thinking, probably was a bit of a boys' club. People did get, you've got the nod for that job, etc. But I'm hoping that the tide's changed now and it's a bit of a shift.
I think the IT kind of channel industry, I'm not a football fan, but it's a bit like the Premier League. The same managers circulate from job to job.
They do, yeah.
And I think I saw a really interesting article, it must have been 5 years ago, in CRN, which said that 80% of the execs in the channel are going to retire in the next 5 years. So who's taking over? But I don't think they have. And it
no, they've still got the jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, I suppose, I can only speak for myself, and I've had to fight very hard at times to get to where I am. But to me, that means getting the role makes it even sweeter. So, at the end of the day,
do you think you've had hurdles put in front of you? Do you think?
I don't know if they're hurdles. I think ultimately, I'm a true believer you can get what you want if you're willing to work hard enough for it, and sometimes you have to work harder. I suppose my view is, look, if I can pave the way for other people through what I've had to deal with and make other people feel that what they want to achieve is possible, then it was all worthwhile.
No, absolutely. Talking of working harder,
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 4-day working week.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on the recent UK-based trial of thousands of people talking about working 4 days, which is, for the listeners that don't know, well, hopefully they should do, 100% productivity for 80% of the time for 100% of the salary. What's your views?
I think that, to quote Captain Jack Sparrow, the problem's not the problem, it's the attitude to the problem. And I think that when it comes to work in general, I think it's a smokescreen. I think people are looking in the wrong place. From a perspective of, it's not the hours that people work, it's what they do when they're at work. And I think there's too much focus on the time people are at work and how much time people should or shouldn't spend at work, rather than actually what is it we're asking people to do. What's the end product? What are we actually trying to achieve? What are the KPIs? What are the measurables? 'Cause I'm a great believer that, if I take sales as an example, if I put clear KPIs which drive the needs of our business in terms of the brands, products, solutions that we want to pitch, and I put KPIs around driving those in with my team, the number will follow itself. If I've got the right measurables for people around doing those things and the output is there, why does it matter what hours people work? So I'm not for or against it, but I do think there's too much focus on the hour element rather than what people are doing.
Do you think, again, going on KPIs, I'm hearing a lot of people now not having KPIs.
Yeah.
So when I look back when I started in recruitment, call stats, number of interviews, number of registrations, lots of call stats and KPIs. If I did my number,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
If I didn't do my number, my God, my KPIs were absolutely drilled into me. To me now, that's gone out the window at the moment. It's a bit more like, it's a bit more softly management style. And quite frankly, Jamie, I don't believe many people want to be managed by KPIs anymore. Wrongly or rightly, what's your view on that? Because my view is KPIs, like it says in the tin, a key performance indicator on success. And yet, most people now say, "Ooh, I don't want to be micromanaged by Jamie because she's managing my KPIs." What do you do with that?
It always takes me back to a conversation I used to have with a couple of people I used to manage many years ago, and they'd say to me, "Jamie, I've not had time to do my KPIs because I'm too busy trying to hit my number."
Yeah.
Which always used to make me laugh because my view is, we shouldn't have KPIs for the sake of KPIs. They should be driving what are the core fundamental things that need to be done to perform in the role and to be successful. And ultimately as well to drive the business's agenda, because that's ultimately what people are there to do. And I think that, we touched on it earlier. The requirements of an employee now are perhaps different. From a perspective of, we're dealing a lot more across the globe. Working hours can differ. And I do think that the idea of kind of committing people to work Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, I think that's a bit, in certain roles, is a bit of a nonsense now. There'll always be requirements to be available and to man stuff, but there'll also be requirements to step out of that. So I suppose, where's the flexibility in terms of getting the balance right. But as for the 4-day week, I remember a conversation I had with a senior leader that's not in our business anymore, and he said to me, Jamie, I'm nearly at retirement now. I'd really like to go to a 4-day week. And I said to him, hey, okay, why don't you? And he said, because I don't want to take the pay cut. I said, well, you don't want a 4-day week then, do you? He was like, I don't have the choice. I said, you do. It's just whether you want to earn less money. So I suppose I've got mixed views. For me, it's about what are we trying to achieve and how do we put clear measurables about that and what is the time frame required to do the job. Would everybody want a 4-day week if they had to take a 20% pay cut? No. So it's a balance, isn't it? And I think I think for me, any employment contract is a contract between an employer and a employee, and it's a marriage. It's a two-way street. So there has to be give and take within any situation, and it has to work for both. So does a 4-day week suit certain businesses? Each will differ. So again, it comes back to my point earlier. I think people are looking for a vanilla scenario, and I don't think there is one. How do
you manage that though, Jamie? So, for instance, I completely agree with you. A contract between an individual and a company could be tailored to company individual, but people get jealous of that.
Yeah.
So if Amy said, actually she wants to work, doesn't want to work Wednesday mornings, and she wants to work Friday afternoons from home, and she wants to do yoga on a Tuesday, but she wants the same pay. That could be possible. But other people, they wouldn't like it. They'd be like, oh, well, Amy's done this, or Joe Bloggs has done this. So how do you get it where, yes, you want it individual, yes, you want it unique, like a marriage, and yet you might have 100, 200, 500, 1,000 employees?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things for me, always from a philosophy of management, is fairness.
Right.
I made a prediction a few years ago, and I was laughed out of the room at the time, but I'm still adamant this will be a thing. I think it's only a matter of time before there is a situation where somebody who doesn't have children falls foul of preferential treatment of people that do, because that's a choice. So we live in strange times at the moment, and ultimately I think it's a balance around making sure that we're fair and we deliver what people require in their lives, but also fundamentally we have to remember that a business exists to return profit to its shareholders. If the business stops making money, people don't have jobs anymore. And I think that's being lost in the whole argument, I think, is that what is required from the business to be successful, and that's what should drive all of what we're talking about, essentially. And there'll be opportunities for people to work in certain companies where I'm sure they can work less hours, but it might not be for everyone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.